Hey everybody, and welcome to a special episode of Noobs, where we're going to review Batman versus Superman. I'm your host Odell.
Not JT.
Welcome to the show.
Some strong feelings.
By now I hope you caught our preview, our post. Our pre-movie review.
That thing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the thing we did all the way there. It's pretty funny.
That was fun though.
Yeah,
We should do more car videos.
Yes, definitely.
Go ahead.
And I've had the pleasure of seeing the movie 2.5 times. I say the half because I watched it the third time through nefarious means, but
Less than ethical.
There you go, less than ethical. But
But we paid for the other experience. Like
yes,
it was legitly we submitted
So
money
fuck you
into the
guys.
filmmaking process.
That's right. So
And I will
screw
be buying. I have pre-ordered the 3-hour edition.
you. Yes.
So I'm putting my money where my mouth is.
Because a lot of this movie's place in history relies on that 30 minutes.
Yes.
Because as it stands now,
All right. No, let's get into it.
Okay.
First, initial reactions go.
bad.
I thought it was good. Well, let me phrase. When I walked out of the theater, my initial impression was like a 5.5, 6, because I was like, it was entertaining, which is the main thing I want out of a superhero movie, but left a lot to be desired in certain areas, which we'll delve into more in detail. So I walked out with an experience of 5.5, 6. So that's what I'm going to give it as my rating, my official post viewing rating. But now that I have time to think about it for a little bit and really go back and think about what happened in the story and really go back and analyze everything, I have raised it to a 7. Maybe 7.5, tinkering, depending on now that I've seen a bonus scene, which I'm clunking into that additional rating. So we'll get into that in a minute. So initial rating and then any subsequent ratings.
My initial rating walking out of the theater. Well, let me start by saying when I sat down to watch this movie the first time, I literally sat on the edge of my seat and I stared at the screen. I think I might have blinked a total of 6 times throughout the first hour of the movie because I wanted to take in everything.
At some point, you might not miss stuff because your eyes were. Go ahead.
And that's why I went back and I watched it a second time.
Fair enough.
My initial walking out of the theater was bad. That was really bad. But it shouldn't have been bad. There's no way that could have been bad. So there must have been something I missed that was important that made it bad.
Right. You're saying that you missed something that would have made your bad experience good.
Yes.
Had you caught it.
Yes.
And then you went back and
no, I caught everything. I didn't miss anything.
Okay.
And it was still bad. Now, when I say it's bad, I base that on what we got, what was advertised to us, and based on what they had, all of what they could have done with it. So it's overall potential. And I'm speaking only about the theatrical version. This has nothing to do with any bonus scenes or the other 30 minutes.
Right, I understand.
This
in 4 months we'll have to do another one where we talk about that version.
Yes, and I'm fine with doing that. And I'm fine with in 4 months taking back this bad opinion.
Sure, well, at that point it's a different movie.
Yes.
It's kind of like the rogue version of X-Men Days of Future Past, which I thought was far superior than the theatrical version, which I compare this to that. Like, to me, this was on par with X-Men, not Age of Apocalypse, X-Men Days of Future Past, which I walked out thinking, well, I was entertained, but it didn't give me what I wanted.
True.
And that's kind of, it didn't give me everything that I wanted.
It gave me what I wanted in the sense of it got us to a place where we can now do a real version of the X-Men or a more familiar version.
Sure, it reset the timeline.
Yes.
And then in a similar vein, this set it up so we can now do Justice League. So if you look at it from that perspective, it accomplished what it needed to accomplish. But go ahead.
and everybody keeps saying that. And to
You
me,
disagree though.
yes, slightly. To me, I feel like had they done other stuff in this movie, the outcome would have still been the same. They still would have ended at the point of starting the Justice League, and it would have made sense, and we would have had a better movie experience.
Yeah, okay. So let's go into some spoiler territory here. Let's
This
walk.
is a spoiler filled review.
So let's
This is a
walk
week
down some.
later. If you haven't seen the movie by now,
It's not a week later. It's like 3 days later. But that's not the point.
it's like 5. It's a work week later.
Whatever. The point is, you should have seen it.
Yeah.
So let's go down. What were the biggest mishaps for you?
The absolute biggest mishaps. Okay, let's see. Well, how about before we get into everything that was wrong?
Start with what's right.
Let's start with what's right.
Let's do that too.
I don't want anybody to think I'm just bashing this movie.
Okay. We'll start with what was good though. Okay. So top however many moments.
Huge Batman fan, not so much a Superman fan. Huge comic book fan.
Going into it.
Going in.
That's the reference.
And fanboy.
I would agree with that. I'm the same way. I like comics in general. Not huge into Superman. Love Batman like everybody else.
So, things they got right. Batman, phenomenal performance. Even though I still think he was the wrong Batman for this movie in the sense of the wrong version of Batman.
For the movie, but
his overall performance, Ben Affleck, crushed it. He had the second best performance in the movie. Period.
Yeah. Now I would even argue he had the best performance, but I can make a case for that in a minute.
I can't,
because you're gonna say Wonder Woman, right?
Yes,
I know.
And I'll say this, and this is why.
Okay.
She did in 7 minutes of screen time what he did being on the throughout the entire movie.
I thought about that, and on a Collider video, which if you don't watch the Collider series, you should. They're amazing, and they're really good for any type of movie news. But on there, they were discussing this movie, and they brought up a really good point that I had already thought of, but I completely agree with, and I'd like to kind of mimic, which is people like the Wonder Woman character, not necessarily the actress that portrayed said character. And here's the point, and I would agree with this. The most of the part that people liked about her was when she came in for the final battle scene. I don't know if you'll 100% agree with this, but most people that like online or whatnot, that's what they liked. But like when she came in and she was starting to whoop ass, and she like legitly took Doomsday on her own, and there was a scene with the lasso, and it was cool. I loved it. Yeah. But hell, 70% of that was CG. Anyway, there was no lines in it. The only thing that was even remotely close to acting was when she smiled after getting slammed into the ground or to the water brick or whatever. Any actress could have done that.
Yeah.
Any actress could have fit that role as long as she had the general look.
I'll say,
and even hold on. Even going back to the scenes before, like in the museum, wasn't really stellar acting. I mean, she had like 3 lines. She delivered them, but not necessarily in an overly meaningful way. She just gave them. And then same thing at the party. Like, she just looked pretty and walked around. Like, there wasn't really any acting involved. So I can't say that she gave the best performance because she didn't really give a performance per se. The computer gave a great performance when she was fighting Doomsday. So that's why I would say she didn't, as an actress, give the best performance. I would say Ben Affleck did. And I would give the second one, even though he didn't have a lot of screen time, to Jeremy Irons. So both in the Batman camp. He was by far my favorite Alfred. For what little bit we saw of him, he was my favorite.
I like having an Alfred who kind of talked back to Bruce and he kind of gave him shit. You know what I mean?
And he was, and now it's a hard sell for me because I loved Michael Caine as Alfred. But Michael Caine was very much the fatherly / grandfatherly Alfred. As where this is more the almost like an older brother Alfred. I mean, still kind of fatherly.
Kind of like an uncle.
Yeah, maybe that would be a good example.
Uncle.
Like,
kind of,
like who took over.
This end bad, but if you want to keep doing it, fuck it, okay.
Yeah, like, I'm just going to let you know how it is.
Back to your Wonder Woman.
Go ahead, yeah.
And why I slightly disagree.
Okay.
There are a lot of actresses who are put in these roles of these familiar female comic book characters. I
Sure.
hark back to Halle Berry's Catwoman.
Ugh, what a
Or
horrible example. What about Black Widow?
I'm getting to that. Hang on,
Gosh.
hang on,
All right.
I'm getting to that.
All right.
I also hark back to Megan, what's her name?
Yeah.
From Jonah Hex.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Megan Fox.
Pretty girls
But
who
not
can
great
wear
actresses.
the outfit, but they don't make you kind of buy into the character, even though you know a lot about the character. So there's not a lot they have to do. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But
I mean, I guess
and
that's
now we have a Gail. I hope I pronounce her.
Gail Gadot.
Gadot, and like a Scarlett Johansson,
Mhm.
who doesn't necessarily fit the comic book version of